Square business ain't did it, and I ain't square business.
Voodoo ghost?
What do y'all want?
We want a ghost story.
Y'all want ghosts or history?
I'm gonna do both either way, but yeah, whatever. I do both.
So you ain't got to keep your eyes on the road? The horse got it?
I go back and forth.
Okay. I don't want to get lost.
You know something that's fucking funny? All right, so about an hour ago, so about 6 o'clock tonight, did y'all see all the ambulances around here and the fire trucks flying around? I was trying to give a tour, right? And like, there's fire trucks everywhere. It's crazy. I get back here finally, I did all these like extra routes. When I finally get back, I find out someone called the fire trucks. They thought the fog was a fire, smoke.
Oh my God, it's always one.
That's why they brought the entire fleet of trucks out here
For the fucking fall. Well, that's embarrassing.
They're like honking at us. The fire trucks were honking, scaring Pretty Boy.
Oh my God. His name was Pretty Boy?
Yeah. So guys, his name is Pretty Boy. My name is Griffin.
Hi,
Pretty Boy. Nice to meet you.
Pretty Boy and
And
Griffin.
Griffin.
Yeah, it's fine.
Right, and Griffin.
All right, Griffin. Yeah, Griffin and Pretty Boy. Now, Pretty Boy, unfortunately, is not a horse. He's not a horse.
What the hell? Oh, zebras.
Nor is he a donkey.
Don't listen to the red lights.
Nope. Now we slow down. If I get a ticket, it goes in Pretty Boy's mouth, right? So
Oh, okay.
Pretty Boy is a mule. He's a mule. So he's a cross between a horse and a donkey. So yeah, he's a
I've never seen
combination.
a million.
He looks like a
He's a draft
combination.
animal. Yeah. So he's like a super animal, basically. So his
Ooh, so it goes
dad's the
super
donkey.
fast.
His ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his daddy's the donkey. So his daddy's ears up top there.
You know, when did they start mixing animals together? That's just
God,
weird.
probably like in the pre, like I would guess.
Yeah, that's why our
BC,
bugs don't look the
BC, that kind of
same.
thing. Yeah, I mean they're altered mosquitoes now. Yeah, so his dad's the donkey.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you know what they're riding
Rides like these things. You know what they are.
Mixed together. I'm like, what is that?
So,
the ladies in their spot.
a lot of tour guys make the joke that his dad's a jackass, you know, like my father.
They didn't
But
have to fight.
my dad's really sweet, so I don't make that joke. So we leave that one out. Now, Pretty Boy, his mother is a horse with an S of horse. And you see that body? That's his mama's body, right? He gets it from his mama. Now, his mama is not just any horse, she is a Clydesdale horse. So she's one of those Budweiser
Fancy.
horses. So you see those little white socks down there. Pretty Boy is the only Clydesdale mule in all of New Orleans. The only one here. That's why he is a pretty boy, right? That's why he's a pretty boy. Come on, baby boy, get on through here. Come on through. Good job, pretty boy. Get on through.
Go, pretty
Walk on,
boy.
baby. Walk on. Step it out, pretty boy. Walk it out. Walk it out. Walk it out.
Walk it
All the way. You
out.
got it, man. All the way. All the way. All the way. Now, unfortunately, he has an attitude to match that name. So, he's not a big fan of puddles. He has very dainty hoofs, and he's also not a fan of potholes, which
Oh,
means
he's bougie.
yeah. So like that means we're gonna be going through all the potholes, not Pretty Boy, right? Yeah. If you let Pretty Boy, he'll just stare at his own reflection in the pond for about an hour at a time. So you gotta be careful here. He spends all his free time in the stall, just kind of sulking in the corner, thinking about life. Some mules are like really personable. They'll be like really friendly, but Pretty Boy is not that kind of mule.
And then upstairs. Yeah, you see that? Upstairs to eat.
So these guys are so big because they're all draft mules. So they're actually all, we bought them from farms in Amish country. So they used to plow the farm all day basically. So they'd be farm mules, yeah. This is like a fucking vacation for them basically.
Right? They're in retirement.
Yeah, in a way, so it's like a gradual tiered retirement, right? So they'll do this for about 5 years and they'll be actually retired. So, yeah. The Amish don't even name them. They don't even give them names. They just like see them as machines basically that work with food. That's it. All right, baby boy, where to next? So the question is, why mules? Why do we use mules here? What's so cool about them? What do we use? They are. It's been that kind of night, guys. They are 2 to 5 times stronger than a horse. They're much stronger than a horse. They're way stronger. Yeah, way stronger. They're also way more intelligent. They're very highly intelligent. So, everybody thinks that donkeys are dumb. Donkeys are actually really smart. Horses are pretty dumb. Horses are dumb as shit, but donkeys are smart. So, Pretty Boy gets the intelligence from both parents combined, and he's smarter than both, right? So, go straight, go straight, go straight, go straight. All right. So, Pretty Boy. Pretty Boy's right here.
Oh my God.
Ex-Pretty Boy driver right there. Yeah.
Woo!
Ex-Pretty Boy driver. That's his old man right there. I didn't know he was still in town. What's Jordan up to? I wish I was getting drunk at Harry's Corner. All right. So, anyway, Pretty Boy has maps of the French Quarter memorized in his head, so he knows where he wants to turn left, where he wants to turn right. So he could actually do
That's
most
why
of
he
the story.
automatically turns.
Yeah, exactly.
Right
He knows what he's doing.
Like, you didn't tell him to
Nah, I didn't
turn.
come do shit. No. So the thing is, like, sometimes I want to change the route a little bit. I want to improvise things, and we have fights about that because he wants to do his route. I'm like, I want to spice things up a little bit, Pretty Boy. It's been the same every night, you know. And he usually wins the fight, obviously, but you know, still, the reason they use mules at the Grand Canyon for years and years and years without accident is because if I told a horse to go left and step off the cliff face, the horse would be like, yeah, all right. He would fall to his death, right? If I told Pretty Boy to step left off the cliff face, he'd be like, why don't you do it? I'm not going to do it. Yeah, that's crazy. So they're called stubborn because they're smart. They're very, very smart animals. So if anybody ever calls you stubborn, it means you're intelligent, right? It means you're really, really smart. That's the point. All right. So I'm going to give you all a mixture of ghost stories and history here. The first thing I need to tell you as a base level is that the French Quarter is not French. It's not French. It is, I hate to disappoint you, right? It is, it's Spanish, it's Caribbean, it's Haitian, it's American, it's not French. Because the French built this city out of wood, specifically cypress wood from the swamps, which is very, very flammable. And on this street, in the year 1788, it was Good Friday, and right past that church, a guy was praying in his house. He knocks a candle off the altar, the fire starts spreading all down the street here. Now, because it was Good Friday, he was not allowed to ring a bell in the church to warn anybody because that would be sacrilegious. So, 800 out of 1,000 buildings burned down in a single day. 80% gone just like that, right? 6 years later, there's a second fire. That's the rest of the French Quarter. So, the French Quarter is not French because it all burned down. It's gone. The Spanish rebuilt the city. Whoa, Pretty Boy. Not here, right here. So they said, all right, no more wood. We're going to use brick and stucco, like you see here. And then the beautiful water fountains inside the courtyards on the street were actually part of the Spanish fire system. You had to have a water fountain or a well to put fires up. That's why they're there. All right, now, on my right here is the Hotel Provincial. This is a haunted hotel. So you'll see a sign that says, hold on, Pretty Boy. I know it's not the easiest spot. Hold on.
Okay, I'm with the horse.
Not yet.
I'm with the horse.
See it says Ice House Bar right there? This used to be an ice house where dead bodies were stored. So during yellow fever epidemics, actually they would put bodies on ice, preserve them so they would not rot and die in the street and bring more disease. I let him go on the break. Someone's behind us now. We're gonna cop behind us. All right, so they would actually put bodies on ice blocks there, and that was the same ice used for their drinks and things like that, right? So it was all from the same stuff. So we call that seasoning here, the seasoning.
Marinade.
It was also a Confederate hospital during the Civil War. That's where soldiers had their amputations done, which is why it is a haunted hotel today. So, during the Civil War, New Orleans fell very early in 1862, which means the river was blockaded. Supplies couldn't get in, so there's no medicine, right? Very little food. So when a soldier had amputation done there, they got two things. They got a shot of whiskey and a leather belt to bite on as the saw went back and forth through their leg. Come on, Pretty Boy. Now, the other problem with that, all right, we usually park here. We ain't gonna happen right now. Here's a second. All right, hold on. Walk on, Pretty Boy. Let's go up here. We're gonna try right here, guys. See if we can do this. Hold on, Pretty Boy. Can you get a little parking job right here? Step in, step in, step in, step in, step in, step in. I ain't gonna wait too late on. Step up, step up, step up, step up, step up, step up. Ease up, ease up, ease up, ease up, ease up, ease up, ease up. Ooh, that's probably good enough. All right, we got it. So they had to use amputations, right? There's no medication, so what do? They used two things. You got a shot of whiskey and a leather belt to bite on, right? For that saw going back and forth through your leg. Now the other problem is that these guys had gunshot wounds. They had stopped from bleeding somehow, but they had no medicine, so what do? They improvised and they used cornmeal because the cornmeal would expand and soak up the blood, which is pretty smart actually. The problem is that rats were attracted to the cornmeal. So the rats would start nibbling at the wounds. They would give the guys guns to shoot the rats. They would miss and shoot each other's feet off again. More amputations, etc., etc. So to this day, you can still hear occasional moments at the hotel. There's a lady on my carriage one night who heard her bed started shaking in the middle of the night. She was alone in the bed. The bed started shaking next to her, which has to be an amputation, right? And then if you go to the very top floor, you listen very carefully, you can hear of rats nibbling at the corner.
Oh my God.
There's also just a lot of rats in the city, right? So it could be rats too. On my right here, guys, this building in the fog. This is a really important building. This is called the Ursulines Convent, So, this is a convent built for the Ursuline nuns. The nuns came here about 1720 to teach girls, and this school was opened at about 1750, which means this building is the oldest building from here to Minnesota in the middle of the country. So all along your Mississippi River Valley, that's your oldest one right there. Now, it is also the only French building left in the French Quarter to survive that fire I was just telling you about. All the other ones burned down, this one made it through. The nuns say it's because there's a statue of the Virgin Mary inside. I say it's because it's made out of stone, but it could be either one, right? Now, these days it's a museum for the nuns. Do you see the upstairs floor where the windows are kind of boarded shut up there, the shutters? Okay. That's allegedly where the vampires have been for the past 150 years. So, the nuns don't go up there anymore. Pretty boy doesn't go up there, that's vampire territory, right? Some nights we come past here, there's actually bats flying around by the windows there. Now, where does that rumor of vampires come from? They are supposed to be descendants of somebody called the Casket Girls. Have y'all heard of Casket Girls before? All right, I'm gonna tell you a story. So, when this city was first founded, nobody wanted to live here. It was a swamp full of mosquitoes and yellow fever. So to fill it up, they had to drag guys out of prison in Paris to actually put them here and inhabit the place, against their will, obviously, right? The entirety of Louisiana was a penal colony for France, the same way Australia was a penal colony for England. Okay, so that means your first New Orleanians in the city were actually thieves, gamblers, prostitutes, very similar demographics to today, actually. That's why it's a great city. So after a while, the French guys decide they want to have proper women to marry. They don't want to marry prostitutes. So naturally, they start importing teenage girls from Paris to be raised by these nuns as wives for the Frenchmen. Yeah, there you go, right? So, not a good time to be alive. So, and these girls were called casket girls because on the ship over here, they were given a large box for their clothing. In French, that is a casquette or a cassette. The box was also the same size as their bodies in case they got yellow fever or tuberculosis and died. They could have a nice little Catholic burial in their suitcase when they got off the river, right? Now, sometimes they got tuberculosis and survive, which means they're coughing up blood, right? So they get off at the river mouth, there's blood trickling from their lips, they're carrying a giant coffin, the French guys see them and they're like, vampires! And ever since the vampires went upstairs, they're just like, So, those for sale signs do not say it, but a lot of times in the French Quarter, your real estate signs will say for sale, haunted or not haunted on them.
Oh, yeah.
And basically,
I've seen them, yeah. If you look around at the signs, pay attention.
every once in a while you see one, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I've seen them.
If you have a haunted house, you have to legally disclose it, right? You
They
gotta,
have to, yes.
So that's a real thing.
that's a real thing, that's a real thing. I think there's one on Governor Nichols Street right now.
So I mean, like haunted houses are real.
Oh, yeah, here, yeah.
Oh,
Most haunted city in the country here, yeah. Savannah's gonna say it's the most haunted. Savannah's not the most haunted, it's the most haunted.
I never believed it, but put it
Me either until I started doing this, and like I started seeing enough photos people my characters would take, and like, I see some crazy shit. Just like a photo.
wow.
Oh, shit.
Have y'all heard of the Lottery
Turn the
Mansion?
camera off.
Have y'all heard of the Lottery Mansion before?
Nah.
Yeah, so like you have to disclose it, and like I've had drivers who worked here who found like ghosts in their house at night. They would say that they would be falling asleep basically, and they'd wake up with like sleep paralysis. Their bodies stuck with their minds awake. They just like see some dude like walking around the room and then
No.
walk on pretty boy, get all the way up here.
I never really, I
Time to go.
I thought it was fake.
Come in here and chill.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I've not seen one personally. I hear you're supposed to be chosen by the ghost to be able to
Oh, don't
see
choose
it.
me.
Exactly. It's like the kickball team you don't want to be chosen by. But I've seen enough photos now where I could buy it. Yeah, I could buy it for sure. Okay, so you guys have just left the French Quarter. This is a big step for you, right? We're gonna leave the French Quarter for a second. We're gonna go to a different neighborhood called the Marigny. The Marigny. So, this is the neighborhood right here. It's a Creole Caribbean neighborhood. It's really cool. And they have the best street for live music in the city. It's called Frenchman Street. You can probably hear it coming right now, right? So we're gonna go drive down and just listen to some music for a minute, okay? The reason the building's so big is it used to be a U.S. Mint, so the money was made there. We don't love jazz that much, right?
Yeah, it's really big.
So y'all know why this is called Frenchman Street?
No.
Okay, so right there, that very spot, when the Spanish took over, New Orleans didn't want to be Spanish, we want to be French, right? We saw ourselves as French. So we protested. To make an example of us, the Spanish general killed 5 of the wealthiest Frenchmen in front of their families right there, and left their bodies on the levee to rot. So, in their honor, this is now Frenchman Street. Alright, anyway, this is the Lottery Mansion. It's the most haunted house in the city. Have you seen American Horror Story Season 3, Coven? This is the one. When I say the one, you know what I'm talking about, right? The Kathy Bates character.
I'm not into that.
No.
And the streets all dark.
So right now it is privately owned, but the guy does not live there. So he just leaves it empty all the time. So imagine having that kind of money, you can buy mansions and just like not live in them, right? So sometimes his friends come down here and party upstairs on the balcony there, but mostly it's empty all year round. Nicolas Cage owned this house for a while. Nicolas Cage owned it. It was even too scary for him. He was also having problems with the IRS at the time, right? Which is equally terrifying in many ways. So, And it is so haunted that like when you come by at night, you can take photos sometimes outside and find faces in your photographs.
Oh my
I had some guy in my carriage one time take a photo upstairs, and he had not heard my stories yet. He captured a blue spirit jumping out the window upstairs. Yeah, this one right here. This one right here.
Let's try it.
Big one here. Yeah, so as we go past, I'll take you out by the front door too. But yeah, it's a horrible story, as you know. The TV show, it's like embellished a little bit, but it actually happened, unfortunately. Yeah, it happened here. So that was where Madame Delphine Lalaurie and her doctor husband stayed. They tortured their slaves. They tortured slaves.
I remember
Story. Okay, yes.
Yeah, so basically, like one morning a fire broke out, and a neighbor walked inside the house, and he went upstairs, and he found people chained up by their necks, basically, and like broken arms, that kind of thing. So they were
put like animal parts on
some of them,
human parts.
yeah, I mean that's probably an embellishment, right? But they were experimented on, right? So they're used for experimentation. You could get anyway. So like. That actually happened, and they took these bodies down and gave them water and stuff. But there's a posse that saw them and got angry about them, so they came back to get revenge. And they chased Lalaurie and the doctor out of town. They escaped to France eventually and stayed there the rest of their lives. They never came back to the city here. But you see that window is kind of missing upstairs, where it's concrete instead of glass. Second from left. Yeah. So top floor, second from left. So apparently that glass kept shattering over and over again. The story goes that one day a young enslaved girl was brushing Lalaurie's hair, and Lalaurie got angry at her for no reason, started chasing the girl around the house, like a whip or something. And the girl was so scared for her life, the girl ran upstairs to get away, and she jumped out the window and accidentally killed herself in the process. Because that glass has been shattering over and over because that girl's ghost is jumping out over and over and over again, right? So yeah, it gives you a picture here at the front door. You see it here with the lantern burning bright on the side here. I'll go nice and slow and quiet.
I'm quiet. Oh. Did I get it?
I missed
That sucks, it's so bad.
It's blurry.
Kevin got it.
Kevin got it.
Hey man, I don't want to get it.
Be careful what you wish for. There's stories about, like modern stories there, about people who stay in the house. There's one about like a baby getting a sock stuffed in its mouth when it was trying to sleep one night in that house. There's one about this lady whose hair was getting cut while she was sleeping. She'd find her hair beneath the pillow the next day, like cut off her head there. So yeah. So luckily you can't stay there. You can't Airbnb it, right? So we're all thankful at this point. Now, have y'all seen a TV show called The Originals?
Yes.
The vampire show?
That's my show.
You want to see where that was filmed? Alright, let's do that. So, The Originals was filmed. This is the world's nicest parking garage on my left right here. It was filmed right here in the corner. So, you see where these red doors are? That is The Originals house right there. That's it. The beautiful little balcony upstairs, hanging out there.
Yeah.
Pretty boy. And you're in luck because the guy who owns it, he's a doctor from Baton Rouge. It's his weekend house, but he's in town this weekend. So you can actually see inside as we go past. I'm kind of pretty boy. I've heard he's single. He's single.
Oh, single doctor from Baton Rouge.
I've also heard he's like the ugliest man you've ever seen in your life. But
The worst what?
The ugliest.
wait until we pass the house.
Oh, look at that's his house. He comes from.
Because he's a very sweet man. I don't know.
We can.
The female carriage driver said that he's the ugliest man they've ever seen in their lives.
Oh.
He's got money.
He might
He's
have
got
a
money.
beautiful heart.
Exactly. Yeah, he is. He's a nice guy. He's a very nice guy. Exactly. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to show y'all something on these poles up here. Okay, you're going to see these little spikes at the top of the poles. See the spikes up here? See the spikes?
Yes.
All right. We call those Romeo spikes. Romeo spikes. They are the old security system. She's way too happy to be working this later. I need her drugs immediately. So, they're called Romeo spikes because they are put there to keep the Romeos from climbing upstairs to see the Juliets in the balcony above. The fathers put them there. The tour guide joke is go up a Romeo, come down a Juliet. Pass it on, pass it on. All right, guys, so you see this school on my right here? This is Homer Plessy Elementary School. This is the very last school in the French Quarter. It's an elementary school. It's a public school. It's an elementary school. And right there, let me stop here, right down there, on that corner, is Bourbon Street. And Lafitte's Blacksmith shop is there. That's the oldest bar in America. It's about 5 steps from the elementary school. So, welcome to New Orleans. Now, have y'all been to Lafitte's yet? Have you been there already? The Lafitte's Blacksmith shop? Let me tell you about it for a second.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's me right there. His name's the Pirate Jean Lafitte. Pirate Jean Lafitte. Now, They say that he sold all of his stolen goods from that blacksmith shop in the early 1800s, right? He had a lucrative trade. He was responsible for about 80% of the city's commerce, all of its stolen goods. So he dominated the city. Now, he could not put his money in a bank because one, banks weren't a thing then, right? And two, it's stolen money, right? So he started burying it beneath the floorboards in his blacksmith shop there. Now, he didn't sit around to watch his money because he had to go back to the Gulf of Mexico and steal more stuff. That's what pirates do. So he hires a teenage boy to man the shop for him while he is away. So while Lafitte's gone, that store is very successful, right? That little boy sees the treasure pile get higher and higher. He thinks, Lafitte's not going to notice if I start skimming a little bit off the top of the pile. So every day the boy skims and he skims and he skims. Lafitte comes back 6 months later. He takes one look at the treasure pile, says, "You stole from me." He skims that boy's top off with his sword. One swipe, the boy's head goes rolling into the fireplace. And to this day, they say you can see a face inside the fire at Lafitte's blacksmith shop.
Oh my goodness. I've heard that story.
They got some stories.
Yeah, for real.
It usually helps if you drink a couple of daiquiris first, but yeah, you can definitely see that. They say you can hear boot steps upstairs too, which is supposed to be Lafitte walking back and forth, pacing, counting his money there. All right, so do y'all see this beautiful little building right here?
That's a hotel.
Gorgeous.
This is the Cornstalk Fence Hotel. So it's a famous hotel here. The Beatles stayed when they came in the 1960s, although they only came to see Fats Domino. Their show was like 20 minutes long, honestly. But anyway, you see the ears of corn inside the fence? Okay. So the local story is that a guy moved here with his wife from Iowa, and she was so homesick he built her fence out of corn so she wouldn't miss home anymore.
Oh my goodness.
It's very sweet. It's not true. There are two more just like it in the Garden District, the exact same thing. This was the most expensive fence you could buy out of a Sears Roebuck catalog in the early 20th century. So, it's a status symbol. It's big and heavy, right? It's big and heavy. There's one in my neighborhood in Bayou St. John that has like pumpkins in an entire vegetable patch just in the fence. It's amazing.
Okay.
Let's do a little ghost story about the Andrew Jackson Hotel.
Lord.
You watch all those shows, bro?
So,
I know, but I think it's
I don't even watch
now
the shows.
Do we still want ghost
now
stories, or are we
I know.
done with
Yeah,
it?
that's fine.
Okay. All right, so it's a haunted hotel, right? It used to be a school for boys, and before the fire, it was a school for boys, right? But during the fire, it actually had burned down, and 5 boys unfortunately died inside. Now, fast forward, 20th century, it's a hotel. The front desk gets the same calls at night from guests in the rooms complaining. The guests always say, "Look, we love the room. It's very spacious. It's very pretty, but these little boys are playing freeze tag in the hallway, running around, laughing, screaming.
Oh, my
Can you please
goodness.
tell their parents to make them go to bed?" It's a reasonable request, right? To which, of course, the front desk clerk always responds, "This is an adults-only hotel. We don't allow children in the Andrew Jacks," which they don't. So the boys have been there ever since the fire. They now act as poltergeists. They cause mischief. They do things like change the channel on your TV when you're not looking, right?
Oh, my
Usually
God.
Cartoon Network, probably. And then back in the day,
gonna
you
be
get your
able to
photographs developed at Walmart, the real physical pictures. You get them back for the first time. You're going through them, and there's one of like you on Bourbon Street, one a pretty boy sashaying down Royal. Several photos in would be a picture of you asleep in your bed, taken from the ceiling. The boys would photograph you while you
Oh
sleep.
my God.
All right, here we go.
Oh my Jesus.
All the way through.
Taking the batteries out the camera tonight.
Your cell phone will do for you. Don't
So
worry.
what's
Turn that bitch off
The Inn
to
on
it.
Saint what?
What's that?
What's the name of your hotel?
Mine's
The Inn on Saint
Peter.
St. Peter. You got any store? No.
Oh, the Inn on St. Peter. Oh, God.
Man, look. I'm sleeping outside. I'm sleeping in the van.
I don't have a story.
I ain't got no stories in my van.
I don't know, like if you're at a hotel in the French Quarter, it's probably haunted. That's the way it should be.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Anybody else in different hotels around here? Okay.
Yeah, hey, yo, go ahead,
Your best
tell
bet
them.
is the Super 8 in Chalmette, right? Okay. Don't come over here. Oh, pretty boy. Otherwise, you're going to be in haunted territory. And right here, guys, this is where some real-life vampires lived in the 1930s. These guys are called the Carter Brothers, and they would kidnap young women and tie them to chairs and drain blood from their wrists, so they would drink the blood after. And they basically keep them there until the woman was drained of all her blood and then slumped over. So one day, one of the women escaped, and the police found her, so they got found out. That happened fewer than 100 years ago in this city. Right there. There you go. Okay, so this restaurant here, guys, is called Muriel's. I never quite say it right. Muriel's. All the way around you. Come on, pretty boy. It is a haunted restaurant. It's a haunted restaurant. So, I want to show you something cool. So it's a haunted restaurant. These are not ghosts, these are real people. But if you look in the very last window, you're going to see a table in the back. And the table is going to have a white tablecloth on it. So look for the one with the bars on it right here. You'll see a table with a glass of wine in the back, hanging out back there, and the lights are out for, never mind. So, imagine a table with a white tablecloth on it and a glass of wine on top. That table is where the ghost eats every night. So every night he gets a glass of wine and fresh bread every night. If he does not get it, he has tantrums, he knocks bottles off the wall, he like blows in the bartender's ear, stuff like that. So that's a little offering there to the restaurant. For a special price, you can actually eat with him inside his restaurant at Muriel's.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know what that price is. I don't know what that price is.
Your life?
Yeah,
Right.
your immortal soul. $25, one of those two, right? Now, somebody usually asks if the wine is gone at the end of the night. And the answer is yes, because the waiters drink it. That's right. Alright, let me go. Copy right here. Okay, guys, I got one more big ghost thing for you tonight. I'll give you a history thing first. Okay? So on my right here is the St. Louis Cathedral. It's your second oldest Catholic church in the U.S. But on the left of it is a building called the Cabildo. It's a really important building. So two things happened there. One, the Louisiana Purchase was signed there in 1803, right inside, downstairs. So that's that building on the left. Two, there used to be a courtroom upstairs. In that courtroom in the 1890s, Plessy versus Ferguson took place inside the courtroom right there. So both things happened in the exact same building next to the cathedral right here, right? Okay, let's end on a ghost story. So this is Jackson Square, right? Named for Andrew Jackson, you get the idea. So it was not always called Jackson Square. It was called, in these French and Spanish periods, Place des Armes and Plaza de Armas, respectively. And this was your execution grounds. So all of your public executions were held right here.
Oh, shit.
Where you see that Andrew Jackson statue in the middle now, all covered in Christmas lights, is where your hangman's gallows were then. Okay. Your most famous executioner in the city's history was an enslaved man named Louis Congo. He agreed to be executioner for 10 years in return for his freedom. He got a small ration of wine, a house for his wife. He had to kill every single person who came across the stage here. Now, he often used the hangman's gallows because that was pretty popular, but there's also a French method at the time called the wheel. And the French are kind of sick people, right? So you put somebody on a wheel, you spin it around, you break their bones one at a time with a big club, you wield over your head like this.
Oh my God.
So you can imagine the kind of screams that would have escaped here a couple hundred years ago, right? And the kind of ghosts that might escape here now, especially when getting off of a carriage ride. So,
Really?
I hope you enjoyed yourselves.
Right. I'm gonna say goodnight to Pretty Boy, but not you.
Y'all feel free to give some love to Pretty Boy over here. He's not gonna hurt you.
He looks like
A big donkey.
He looks like a horse.
Please, look at his face. He's got a donkey face. What?
Wait, Pretty
He
Boy,
wants me
I
to do
just...
his- he wants to do his chain.
My bad.
He looks like a big old donkey. I've never
So where
seen
can he
this
touch
kind
your
of
hand?
animal.
Oh, he's both though,
So what do you
right?
want me to touch your
Yeah, where
hand?
can you touch
Or a mule.
Stretch his neck a little bit. Come here, baby. Come here. He already lost his room.
Wow. Hey, Pretty Boy. Thank you for the ride.
Pretty Boy.
Thank you for the ride.
There you go.
Oh my God, I never touched
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
you, Pretty Boy.
All right, baby boy. You say thank you, Pretty Boy. Grateful.
Are you Pretty Boy doing for tonight?
Yeah, we're going home. We're going home.
Have a good
Not
night,
the cuss,
sleep.
we're going home. Yeah, we're going
Pretty
home.
Boy, have a good night's sleep.
We got some hay waiting on him. We're ready to eat some hay.
You want some hay? You want apple? I know horses eat apple.
Yeah, he loves apples. He loves some apples as well.
I was like,
Gotta be